Hello everyone and welcome to a guide to Kimochi. So a lot of people have probably been wondering about what actually is Kimochi, what is this kind of battle, what is going on here. It does sound a bit complicated when you get into it, but actually it's actually rather simple. So the idea behind Kimochi battles is that every day you get to fight 3 battles against this big boss, and in every battle you have 6 turns to do the most amount of damage that you can do. The boss themselves, they don't really do much. I mean, they do attack you, they might fire off a Magia, they might debuff your guys, but it's mostly just a target dummy. It basically does barely any damage whatsoever, so don't worry too much about survival. Really just focus on dealing as much damage as possible. Just try and do max DPS. So there are some special rules to this. First off, well, the Kimochi of course does have an element. In this case, it's a dark type element, and the special part about this is that light type, of course, deals bonus damage to dark, but light type will deal extra bonus damage against this specific Kimochi. So the strong element will deal extra damage, while every other element, for example, in this case, even fire, actually deals reduced damage as if they were attacking a strong element. So even if I were to go into this with a fire type character, they would deal reduced damage. You basically have to use a damage dealer that is of the right type. However, I also need to mention right away that I'm going to be mentioning a bunch more stuff about how to deal a good amount of damage. But if you are a fresh account, don't worry too much about maximizing as much as you can. Just play your 3 battles each day and at least try to deal some damage, but more on that later. So what else is there with the rules? There's also, if you exit one of the battles and you have some MP left, you have some charge points left, what happens is those actually carry over into your next battle. Now what happens if you, for example, have 3 characters, they all have like 100 MP, and then for the next battle you actually change your team around, then now you have 5 people, but how does that line up with the MP? Well, what happens is at the very end of a battle, all the MP that you have, it's thrown into a pool, and then the next battle that you fight, those MP just get distributed evenly among everyone. So for example, if I were to get 100 MP on a solo Tart right now, and then in the next battle I switch to a 5-man team, then that 100 MP would just get evenly spread, and then everyone would start with 20 instead. So that is how that works, and of course you just take the charge points you had with you into the next battle as well. And that is something to worry about. You can go into this battle with 5 people, you can go into this battle with 1 person, you can do whatever you want. There are no supports to help you in this battle, because this battle is really just supposed to be about how much damage you can do, you as a player, not with anyone else's help, just you. But like I said, the battles, you can't really die, so don't worry about that. So what are you supposed to do? So, like I said, there are 3 battles each day. However, at the very end of each day, after that 3rd battle, however much MP and charge points you have left, they do not carry over onto the next day. So every day is sort of like its own encapsulated event, and so each day you have to start anew. But you keep the MP from one battle to the next until the 3rd, and then in the next day everything is set back to 0. So every day you want to fight as much as you can. So there are a whole bunch of buttons on the screen now. First off, here's the boss. I haven't even done a battle yet, so I haven't even seen other players yet, because you will see other players in here, and I've been told that if you click on other players' profiles, you can like their profile and you get bonus MP for next battle or something. I haven't seen other players yet, so I can't check it out now, but there are some other buttons on here. One button you've also already seen me use is this button down here on the very bottom, next to the big purple button, this small button. This button is the training button. You are allowed to train, so don't worry about, oh no, there's only 3 battles, what if I screw up? Don't worry, you can do training battles, and of course they don't take any of those 3 tries up. You can train as much as you want to just figure out your best strategy. And I've done some training as well myself already, just to see what I can do. One of the other buttons, well, this is the battle log. It just shows you all the battles you've done so far. Not training battles, just normal battles that you've done each day. I haven't done any yet. I wanted to record my first battle with you guys, so that's why I did that. Then the ranking mode, well, it's also day 1, so no one's ranked yet. But what happens with the ranking is every day there are 2 types of ranking. There is the total ranking of all players in the entire world on who has done the most amount of damage, and then also after the first day people will be sorted into groups depending on how well people did. I think it's after the first day, it might be after the second day or something. And in your group, you can become the best person in your group and sort of gain a title for that. Actually, it's all just bragging rights. It's just like Mirror's ranking, where if you do really well, you get like an S plus or whatever, S3 or whatever. But if you don't do so well, you get like a B plus or whatever. But at least within that ranking, within that B1 star ranking, you can still become the #1 player in your group. And there's like 100 groups or whatever. So you can still aim for the top of your group, even if you are lower ranked. So you can be like, oh man, I only got into like a B1 group, but at least I can be the best of my group, right? So at least something to aim for, even if you're not that good on everything. And there's also a ranking just for how well people did daily and not just in total. But yeah, so the rankings are just for bragging rights for the most part. You get a title for it. I think the badge you get also sticks around on your profile. I'm not 100% certain about that. There's also some missions you could do. Basically, these missions are just daily missions that are just like play Kimochi and deal some damage. Okay, you can probably just deal a bunch of damage and you'll get some of these coins. What do these coins do? These coins are for the shop, where you get a ton of spirit enhancement materials. Even if you don't have a good team, do this. Play this. Also, something I need to mention, by the way, I should have mentioned this earlier, but in order to actually play Kimochi battles, you need to have beaten the prologue of Arc 2. So Arc 2 prologue is down here. Even if you just started the game, even if you have a fresh account, you've just started with the game, you've done a tutorial, this button down here is already available. You can immediately go in here, you can immediately go into the prologue and just beat it, because these stages are very, very low difficulty. You can just do it. They're very, very low difficulty. You can probably just do it with your starter characters, no problem whatsoever. So once you've beaten the prologue, then you can go into the Kimochi battle. This only lasts for 5 days, by the way, so get those battles in. What else is in here? Well, there's a button that just takes you to the shop. Yay. I want to go through all these buttons, because people are probably going to ask, well, all these buttons are so many buttons. What else do we have? Well, there's the help page. It just tells you what I'm saying right now. What does it matter? There's also bonus objectives that you can fulfill for more stuff, but these are also just like, just battle a bunch. Just battle and get some points, and you see if you do better each day, you get more gems, but only up to a certain point, and then you don't get any more gems, because just the top is just for bragging rights. The top is really just for bragging rights. Well, I guess you really want 30 Magia chips, I guess. Most of these really are just play a bunch of battles, make sure you at least try and you get a bit of stuff for it, and you see just how much stuff you get from this. So yeah, just at least try, and you can even get some titles for this. Like, look, if you're S rank or whatever, you can get these titles. Awesome. Amazing. So no, don't worry too much about most of this stuff, just play battles and at least try to do well. Okay, now that we've gone through all of the surrounding stuff, at least there's still one more thing to talk about. The more you damage a Kimochi, the stronger it gets in the following battles. So right now at the beginning it will be very weak, but if you fought a bunch, maybe on day 4, maybe on day 5, it might actually hit a bit hard. But don't worry about that right now. So I'm just going to go into a battle right now, talk about too much about the other stuff. And I'm going to go into this battle with a team like this, just so you see what a battle is like. Just kidding, I'm not gonna go to the final tart team just yet. I'm gonna show you my final tart at some point during this video, but not right now. So we go into the Kimochi, and if you're training, you can actually do the battle at ×3 speed. Awesome. And so, of course, yeah, you just start the battle. You can see that my Karen has a weak element sign, even though she's fire type. Like I told you, if you're not the correct element, you deal basically no damage. And as you'll see with this Puella combo, I will deal a whole bunch more damage than I otherwise would, because, like I said, the strong element, in this case light type, deals even more damage than you otherwise would. So something I'm going to worry about is now the strategy. So the strategy is kind of depend. It's going to be different from Kimochi to Kimochi. So this Kimochi specifically takes bonus damage from charge discs and bonus damage from blast discs. So as you can see right here, I showed you all 3 of my discs. You can see that, oh yeah, the blast discs do a lot of damage. Wow, awesome. But the Kimochi also takes less damage from Magia attacks, and also debuffs you with Magia down, so it Magia damage is not something that will get you to victory, but this is only for this specific Kimochi. Other Kimochi might have different rules. That said, I'm still kind of focusing a little bit on Excel, which is also why I brought Karin along, because the thing is I have a lot of good buffs, so you can kind of worry about, hey, even if I don't want to actually deal Magia damage, having Magias that have really awesome buffs on them, like Karin's Magia, is actually really awesome. So if I can get a Karin Magia out, she's gonna buff my entire team really hard, and then I can blast for billions of damage, stuff like that. But like I said, the actual strategy depends heavily on the specific Kimochi that you are fighting, so don't worry too much about this specific one, although I can say, if you're watching this video while playing against this specific one, like I said, do some charges, do some blasting. I'm just showing off a general strategy, not actually a strategy that is particularly good. I'm just like throwing a team into the blender, basically. The actual strategy that you're gonna fight though is that you're gonna play is not just depending on the Kimochi, it's also depending on what you actually have. Like what characters do you have? What Memoria do you have? You kind of have to figure it out for yourself. I can't just tell you like play specifically this strategy, play specifically that strategy. It's not gonna work. But what I can say is like here's some stuff that is probably always good. Having really good supports. For example, a Karin. A Karin is probably always going to be really good, just because Karin's Magia is one of the best support Magias in the entire game, even if she doesn't have the right element, even if she doesn't have the right type, even if none of that, you know? What else can we worry about? I'm using just random discs here, don't worry about this. What else can we worry about? Well, if, for example, the enemy is weak against Blast, basically any Blast Gorilla is good. Like even if we don't have the right type, even if we only have like Yachio or Nanaka, whatever, it's a blaster, throw them. Or otherwise around, if we don't have a blaster, just throw any good light type you have in there. You're probably gonna have either someone who has the right discs, or you're gonna have someone who has the right element, who is at least somewhat decently strong. I mean, what you can play, for example, if you don't have any other good light type, Oriko can be quite good. I mean, yeah, the enemy takes reduced damage from Magia, but even so, solo Oriko can pump out so many Magias that she just racks up a whole bunch of damage anyway, and it kind of doesn't matter that the enemy takes reduced damage from that. And you kind of worry about that that way. What else do we have? Well, like I said, you can take a really good blaster as well. If you're wondering, well, I have a good blaster and I have a good light type, should I take the light type or the blaster? Well, it kind of depends on who you think is stronger from those two characters. Like I said, just take whatever you think is the strongest. One thing I will tell you is, don't just look at the enemy weaknesses and think that you have to specifically target weaknesses. If you, for example, don't have a good light type, don't take a light type with you. If you only have like a level 80 Iroha, then don't play that level 80 Iroha. If instead, for example, you have a level 100 Yachio, play that one instead. Also, how many characters should you take? Well, kind of depends on your team once again. If you're taking too many weak characters, don't do that. Don't take like one strong character and 4 weak characters into battle. That's terrible. Those 4 weak characters are just gonna steal your discs. But if you have like 4 really strong characters, then take 4 characters with you into battle. It kind of, like, once again, it really just depends on what you have, what you're comfortable playing with, what you think is most powerful for you. And if you're not quite sure, go into the training mode that I did right here, throw some stuff against the wall and just see what happens. So I did basically no damage in this battle, kind of on purpose, because I'm going to show you a different battle where I'm going to do a whole bunch of damage. So this was like 3 million damage. I'm about to do like 13 million or something, like 10 million more. Don't worry about it. So I didn't show it right there, but there's actually, and at the very end of that screen, there is a button you can press to show what happened on every single turn, so like a turn-by-turn breakdown. You can look for that as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff surrounding this game mode, but really it's just make a strong team, see what you can do, and then just battle a bunch. It's really not too much to worry about. Just go ham. Just go ham, dude. The most important part is to just at least try to deal some damage and play 3 battles every day. And also the daily reset is not around the regular daily reset. It's actually like 8 hours before that, which is at the same time when, for example, in Mirror's ranking, when in Mirror's ranking the daily reset was, that is also the same time when Kimochi reset is, and also the same time like when maintenance is. So this resets when usually maintenance happens, not when the actual daily reset is. Keep that in mind. So yeah, that's basically most about it. I'm just showing off my turret right here, and while I'm showing off my turret, I guess I can show you, if you guys actually have more characters, if you're not just a newbie and you're worrying about, you know what, I really want to deal a lot of damage because I have really good characters, I have really good Memoria, what can you do? Well, here's my tips to you guys on how to maximize your damage, just generally, not specifically this Kimochi, but just in general, what you should do to maximize your damage. There are 3 main components to maximizing your damage. First off, you want to get as much attack as possible, and I'm counting enemy defense down into that, because enemy defense down is kind of like just an attack up in disguise. So you want to get as much attack as possible. That will be the first part. So you want a support who gives you attack up in the best case scenario. For example, who can do that? Who can use the attack up for everyone? Well, for example, Manaka can do that. For example, Sayuki can do that. You can just go to the wiki, look at the attack up page, and then scroll to Magia and see who gives Magia to all people, and probably pick up one of those. You don't specifically have to do exactly that, but you should have to worry about how can I get my characters to have a lot of attack as much as possible. Keep in mind, you cap at plus 100% attack. You can't get any higher than that. What else is there? That was step 1. Step 2, you want to get the most damage modifier as possible as you can. What are damage modifiers? Well, you have Magia up, you have Charge up, you have Blast up, you have, what else do we have? You have damage up against enemies inflicted with status ailments, also known as Addict Killer. You have, I think, Charge's damage up, I think, counts in there as well. You have just straight up damage up and damage increase. All of those effects are damage modifiers. You want to get as much of those as possible. And the best way of getting those is to have the cutest character in the entire game, Karin, or some other character. Ao can also do that. So if you have either of those 2 characters, those are amazing, because those 2 characters give damage up to every single character on your entire team for 3 turns, and are the only 2 characters who can do that, which is amazing. Actually, there's a third, which I think is Swim Sakurako, but she's not that great. So if you have either of those 2, amazing. But just in general, if you're playing, for example, in this specific case, a blast strategy, what you could also do is play like a Kazumi. Kazumi has as a Magia, gives everyone blast up, like 55% blast up for everyone, like 3 turns, which is also absurdly powerful to have in there as a support. So just try and get as much damage modifier as you can. I think there's like one character, I forgot who even gives Magia damage up to everyone. Find out what you can to get the most damage modifier possible. And I'm also counting in that to give the enemy a status ailment that is at least level 2. For example, Burn, Dazzle, Curse, just any status ailment that's at least level 2 or level 3. So, or the other way around, the only ones that don't do that are Poison, Charm, Fog, and I think Skill Seal, Magia Seal, those also don't do that. But any other status ailment will give the effect of increased damage taken from the weak element. And you definitely want that. You want to have that on your enemy at all time if possible, because not only do you get increased damage from that, also if your characters have Addict Killer, like increased damage to weak element, increased damage to enemies inflicted with status ailments, that they will get that bonus as well. What is the third part? The third part is trying to get the most amount of course, damage coming out from your party that is of the correct element. For example, in this case, you want to have as much light damage dealers as possible. And there are actually strategies where you might have only 2 damage dealers and like 3 supports. Strategies like that exist. I've even seen strategies that have like 1 support, one damage dealer and 4 supports. You can do that as well. So that's also in there. And what is also part of that is having attribute strengthened Magia. Even now, even in this game mode, where against this Kimochi rather, where the Kimochi debuffs your Magia attack. Even so, if you have someone with attribute strengthened damage, multi-target, not single target, sorry, too weak, but multi-target attribute strengthened damage Magia will absolutely slay. Especially if you then put on top of that a level 2 or 3 status ailment, and then you're looking towards billions of damage and you're shooting towards the top of the charts. But yeah, in general, basically everything that I've just mentioned is what you would do as a whale. But in general, if you just a fresh account, don't worry too much. Just throw some stuff into a pot that you think is strong, do some practicing, and when you're happy, just do some battles. And yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.